Since COVID, I couldn't continue my world cycling trip, but just stayed in Australia. Finally, many countries started opening the border. I was about to go to Fiji from Australia. I was heading to the airport to get COVID test 2 days before departure to make sure. To me, the scariest part would be if I get positive, I lose all money for bookings. The test clinic was right in front of the international airport departure. There was no queue that it took only 5 minutes to take the test. The result came just after 1.5 hours and it cost $79. Luckily, I got negative. It looks like there was no proper bicycle shop in Fiji, so I bought a few parts. To travel by plane with a bicycle was always challenging. I always had problems at removing pedals without a tool wrench. So this time I asked a bicycle shop to unscrew. Alright, to carry the box was the next challenge. I kept balance with only 2 bungee cords. If you want to buy a new bicycle, first of all, get a bicycle to carry. This was the way I carried. I removed the 5-year-old bar tape, which was really stinky if it rained. I cleaned it and put a new handlebar tape. Actually, I didn't do it well. However, I was just happy to have a new handlebar tape. The bicycle box was extra large size, which made the easiest packing I've ever done in 45 minutes. I always use a big box to put panniers and camping gears like this before. But this time I found this plastic bag. The material looks so weak that it was already broken while packing. So I would have a double layer. I was not sure what kind of medicine I could get in Fiji. So I just bought the pills and mask here. Ready for PCR test negative, international vaccine certification, 3 days hotel quarantine booking, Fiji return ticket, insurance covering COVID. Flight was at 9 a.m. I couldn't sleep well due to preparing and being nervous, and took an Uber taxi at 5 a.m. Thankfully, it was no problem to put a bicycle box in the taxi. My flight was on 1st April. I was thinking of making a funny post about leaving Australia as it was April Fool's Day. I had such a mixed feeling of excitement, nervous, worrying, happy, and so on. International airport was quiet in the early morning, but there was already a long queue. I was waiting 7 minutes and it was actually going to Singapore. I think I misread the counter number. I gotta find Fiji flying. The second queuing in the morning. Jetstar, they were strict and asked me how many days insurance covers and how many days I would stay in Fiji. Fiji insurance had only 15 days product. Told me immigration won't care for days, but Jetstar cared for it. Luckily, I had a Sydney return ticket in 2 weeks, which I could get fully refund for cancelling later. Then worst thing happened. They asked me if I have a visa to return to Sydney. But I can't apply Australian visa while I'm in Australia. They said they can't take me then. This was unfair. In 2019 November, I had a flight ticket from Australia to New Zealand with a Sydney return ticket without a return visa. At the time, it was no problem to board and I got an Australian tourist visa after departure. Also, Australia opened the border now that each tourist visa will come right after applying. I was really upset that I was looking for another return ticket to book. But I couldn't find a fully refundable ticket for cancelling in 2 weeks, and I didn't want to take the risk of losing big money. Many flights from Fiji had a transit to Australia, but I can't apply for a transit visa while I'm in Australia. I can't go to Fiji, so I'm going to lose $500, no refund ticket. And I don't want to go back to any hotel. Yeah, I'm just going to book any flight and leave. And the weather is very depressing. I saw Bali open the border, but they require full insurance, which I couldn't find online. I didn't even want to go to anywhere except Fiji. I realized that the real problem was there was no more new continent to go on my bicycle. Not interested in north-south poles where no culture and people are. Also, I want to leave those lands for science to study. I have cycled 6 continents without stopping. I still love traveling, but I wanted to finish this trip first and do another trip while settling down in one place. It seems the only place I could go was home now. But I didn't want to go home with this depressing and frustrating feeling. While staying in Australia during pandemic, I had to fight against the worst loneliness, unstable renting due to uncertain visa processing, failing of my old dream of going back home to North Korean border, too strict COVID regulations, too much unclear future. I tried my best to stay strong. This kind of ending shouldn't happen. I can't accept going back home like this. I felt so weird to see people leaving to take a flight over the window. I felt like I was watching a movie. Like, I wish I was there too. I just told my friend what was happening. Then she sent me a screenshot of a flight from Sydney to Gold Coast and told me, "Mate, come our home. I'll pick you up at 5 p.m. tonight." I really wanted to get out of Sydney today, but never thought about that idea. Actually, that would be really nice. So I booked a flight ticket to Gold Coast and called the Uber taxi to go to the domestic airport. But our driver denied taking me, saying a passenger can't sit at the front by regulation. But I sat at the front this morning. I thought he was lying. Uber even took money from me, although it was not my fault. I didn't have any choice, so I called another Uber. Another car arrived and told the same thing, no passenger at the front. But this car was so big that it was no problem. So this morning I was lucky to take Uber without being refused. The driver asked me where I came from and where I'm going, but he got too confused to understand what I said. He just told me, "Welcome to Australia." Flight from Sydney to Gold Coast was $90, but I had to pay $137 for my bicycle. Bicycle was much more expensive than myself. I felt to go to a new country, but at least I'll be not stuck in Sydney tonight. It was great to stay in my friend's house. I have known her family like from her nana to her kids for over 2 years, so it was great to catch all of them. And I had so much fun for surfing with their surfboard and bicycle. One of my followers wanted to buy a new tent for my trip. But my trip was nearly ending and I liked my old stuff. Then he sent me big money after hearing my failure of a Fiji trip. Thankfully, my bank account had the same money as before I prepared Fiji trip. So everything turned good while staying in Gold Coast. Now, I had to decide where to go, how to leave Australia again. Oh yeah? Did you look for me?